For 12 unfuckable years, I had jock itch. Why am I telling all of you this? Why have I tagged the doctors of TikTok? Why have I even added a few doctors that are fairly prominent on TikTok? Because no one, not a single doctor that I went to, could figure out what was wrong with me. I had to figure it out myself. So I want to tell everybody the symptoms, the stuff that I went through in the beginning, the stuff that I went through towards the end, how bad it got, and what I did to finally get rid of it, and what I'm still doing to recover, because I don't want anybody to have to deal with this ever. And if anybody is dealing with it, I want you to get rid of it. Keep in mind, this is a lot of information over a long period of time that I'm trying to boil down into a short amount of time. Bear with me if there are certain details that I end up screwing up or missing out on. I will try and answer questions if I can. But anyway, on that note, let's start. So for me to be able to tell this story, I have to be able to convey where things were infected without really telling you where things were infected. So there was the yard gnome was infected. The front doors were infected, and the back door was infected. That one's pretty self-explanatory. And so was about 6 inches down the side of my leg, but that happens a lot later. And that doesn't really need a metaphor, so it's just a leg. Probably within the first year, because it wasn't long after we were together that we started to not use condoms. It wasn't long after we stopped using condoms that I started noticing discomfort during sex. And it slowly started to become very red, it became very painful. It felt a lot like having sex with a cactus. I'm not really sure how long after I started having these symptoms before I saw a doctor, because there wasn't any discharge or anything like that. She tested and there was still no abnormalities within the first story of the house. Where will this? Anyway, there was nothing going on there, so just threw antibiotics at me. I abstained from servicing or abstained from cleaning the house, okay, for the few weeks that I was on the antibiotics. It seemed to work for a little while, and then it came back. Oh my God, it's daylight. Anyway, this would actually happen quite often. It would leave and it would come back. I would end up seeing a doctor again, probably a year or so after, because I was in between doctors. I ended up going to Planned Parenthood at that time. And she thought that it was being allergic to my boyfriend, because he would wash himself with Irish Spring and wash himself with Selsun Blue, which is a dandruff shampoo, if you don't know. So no wonder I was in pain. The pain did lessen, but a lot of the issues didn't go away. I still wasn't feeling the clean, I guess you could say. And Lord knows my boyfriend didn't care. And whenever I'd wash my hair and the shampoo would run past my front doors, I would feel it starting to burn. And there was a point when I found some scaly bits on the inside of my left front door. But I didn't know if those were normal. I didn't know if they'd always been there. I didn't know what they were. If I touched them, like, they didn't really hurt. They didn't itch all that much either. It was just like this weird scab almost. And I didn't really tell anyone, because I was honestly afraid that they wouldn't see it, they wouldn't feel it, and that I would just be told that I was lying or that I was mistaken. And I would just be dead in the water, basically. It wasn't until around about 7 years, maybe 6 years after I gotten symptoms, that I ended up getting candida overgrowth because I had bronchitis and I actually needed the antibiotics for that. and that apparently tipped my microbiome over the edge, and I had gotten candida overgrowth. I went back and forth trying to fix it myself, using creams, using diet, and then I started using yeast cream, and the flaky thing started going away. And in that moment, I realized that it had been fungal, and I realized that it had basically been jock itch. I had stumbled upon a dermatophyte or whatever it's called, and I'm like, yes, it's gone. It wasn't. Around New Year's 2021, 2022, I got myself a new vacuum, let's say, that I was really, really excited about using. And I started to use it on New Year's Eve, and I felt a familiar pain. And I remember feeling like damaged goods, which was shitty because I knew that wasn't true, but that's the way that I felt. From that moment on, I was determined. To get rid of this for once and for all. So I got the creams out. I, started eating better again. I did anything and everything that I could do to hopefully get rid of this shit. I did it for 5 months straight. And within a couple weeks, maybe, I even did a video on TikTok trying to encourage people to get rid of it. It wasn't gone at all. And I finally started to talk to my doctor. Literally felt like a network of fuses, and it would just run through my body, sometimes back to the front door, sometimes around the yard gnome. That one was fun. This is part 3. I was having a very, very hard time with it because if this doctor doesn't believe me, how much longer will it be before I end up actually getting help? And I had to kind of convince her to give me a lot of fluconazole over a long period of time, because it took me 2.5 months, because there was 2 weeks where I did a different medication. But I ended up going for fluconazole again after I did the 2 weeks of different medication, because the different medication didn't burn. The only way that I could tell is whether or not it stopped burning. It literally felt like just this spider web network of fuses that were just slowly being burned from the yard gnome to the back door to about 6 inches down my leg. It was incredibly painful. And I remember sobbing in the shower when I realized it was finally gone. So however did I get jock itch? Nice of you to ask. I ended up finding out that my boyfriend had 3 pairs of underwear and would change them out every other week. Now, before anybody says, oh my God, you had sex with him? Yeah, because I didn't know. It's not like we sat there on our first date and he was like, yeah, I change my underwear every other week. And I'm like, oh, you're my Prince Charming. Fuck me. No, that did not happen. He also didn't wash his hands after he'd go to the bathroom or even touch raw meat. And since I was on birth control and we weren't using condoms, sometimes the cleaning solution, well, all of the time, the cleaning solution will lessen the defenses of the first floor, which ups the amount of bad bacteria, of bad dirt in the first floor. And since he just kept spraying his cleaning solution and not changing his underwear, I believe cultivated this fungus. So what have we learned from 12 unfuckable years I had jock itch? This little series of mine. To every single person that is watching this, then, no, I do not care what sexual orientation you have. I do not care what gender you identify as. I don't care if your gonads are an innie or an outie. For the love of God, for the love of fucking God, literally, change your motherfucking underwear and wash your goddamn hands with soap. And doctors, if there is anyone that has had this kind of issue in the past, or if they come to you and they complain that they've had either scaly bits or anything like that, because I went to a doctor after stuff was disappearing and I still had a little bit of discharge, not realizing the hormonal IUD that I was on was kind of causing that, because nobody told me that either. If someone comes to you and says that they had this issue, please ask them if they just used creams. And if they just use cream, you might want to put them on like a week, maybe week and a half of some kind of fungal infection. Ask them how they feel, if there's any sort of change, if they feel anything. Because I don't know if it's just the strand that I had and how it was trained with the Selsun Blue is the reason why it burned when I used that medication. But it's entirely possible that although the surface seems fine, there's probably there could very well be a network of roots within that person that they don't even know it's there. But on that note, I did my best. Hopefully it was enough. I can ask questions, or I can answer questions if you'd like. As for the recovery videos, that is going to be an ongoing series. If you're interested, then stick around. Because it's most certainly ongoing. I have a lot of other issues that I've been dealing with at the same time. So I can even go into that as well. If you're also curious about the other stuff that I do, go ahead and look into that too. Anyway, change your motherfucking underwear and wash your hands. I'll see you guys later. Bye.